Hello there.
So I finished the Obi-Wan Kenobi series last night, and it left me with a lot of thoughts, so I'm going to share them. Now, I feel like I don't need to warn you that I'm about to spoil the shit out of this show, but I am, so if you don't want to be spoiled, don't watch.
The Junlan wastes are not to be traveled lightly.
But before I start, I need to warn you in advance that I'm probably the kind of Star Wars fan you don't like. I liked the prequels, I thought the sequel trilogy was fine, and Episode 8 was the best one. And if you were to put every Star Wars movie in front of me and ask me to pick one, I'd pick Rogue One like 9 times out of 10. So, if you don't like that, you've been warned. And while I like a lot of the Star Wars media that's come out in the last decade, I still have no trouble conceding that the Disney variety of Star Wars is not great, and I sure would like there to be less of it. To illustrate how I feel about the direction of Star Wars as a franchise, I've established what I'm going to call the Solo a Star Wars story continuum, in which Solo a Star Wars story is the baseline for what makes a passable Star Wars. Any Star Wars better than Solo is good, and any Star Wars worse than Solo is bad. Make sense?
How would that work?
That works.
To that effect, these live-action Disney Plus original shows are so safe and so boring and so bad that I would welcome 100 movies of the same quality as Solo, a Star Wars story before I would watch another one of these godforsaken Disney Plus dumpster fires. Let's talk about stakes, right? When the stakes are high, it's interesting. When the stakes are low, it's boring. A scrappy group of heavily outnumbered fighter pilots trying to blow up a planet-sized space station before it can destroy everything they've come to know and love. That's high stakes. Obi-Wan trying to save a 10-year-old Princess Leia, who's a character that exists as an adult in 6 future films, is about as low stakes as it gets. The only thing that could lower the stakes any further is if there was some contrived subplot about Darth Vader hunting down and confronting Obi-Wan, despite the fact we watched Darth Vader kill Obi-Wan 50 years ago in a movie that takes place 10 years after this show.
Your powers are weak, old man.
There is not a single moment of genuine tension. There was absolutely no point where I was like, oh no, is Obi-Wan going to live? Is he going to save Leia? And is Darth Vader going to kill him? Because I'm not 5 years old. Here's a series highlight. Do you remember when Darth Vader ripped a fucking spaceship out of the sky precisely 2 episodes after Obi-Wan was like lying on the ground, completely helpless, 10 feet away from him, but there was like a fire in the way or something, so Vader just kind of let him go? What kind of sense does that make? He was right there. Do you mean to tell me that Vader couldn't get him because he has, like, fire trauma? Like, fuck off. Get out of my sight. Another series highlight. Remember when Leia was kidnapped and brought to a top-secret, heavily guarded Inquisitor command center, or whatever the fuck that place was, and Tarla and Obi-Wan just kind of waltzed in? And Third Sister was getting ready to torture this small child, and Tarla just distracted her while Obi-Wan walked in, scooped Leia up, and walked out? Oh, and then there was a whole scene where Tarla killed a guy like 15 feet from a bunch of other people and no one noticed. And then they proceeded to walk out of that whole ass base with Leia just kind of under Obi-Wan's cloak. God, this show is so bad. It's so bad. Now, I know I'm being really grumpy right now, and it's probably not fair to this show. Making TV shows is expensive and hard, and it's evident that they blew their entire budget on just getting all the actors to come back. Because this show looks noticeably worse than The Mandalorian. And, like, at the end of the day, it's probably objectively good television. Like, I'd definitely watch one of these Star Wars shows over 98% of the bullshit that's on network television, but, like, that doesn't stop me from being frustrated about the show, you know? And, like, I didn't want anything from this show. Like, I didn't have dreams of what was going to happen. I've learned to just not expect anything so that I can enjoy whatever Disney churns out as much as physically possible. Like, I was expecting some Darth Vader, maybe a reference or two to Luke and Leia, but definitely not like a whole plot revolving around one of them. And I also had like a far-flung hope that I'd see like some Liam Neeson Force Ghost in this, and I felt personally insulted that he had exactly 30 seconds of screen time. Like, I can't fathom why there couldn't have been more Liam Neeson in this show. God, it probably took him longer to get into hair and makeup than it took him to film that entire cameo. Like, are you telling me they couldn't get Liam Neeson on set for 8 hours to shoot a couple of scenes with him and Obi-Wan? Like, their dynamic is one of the highlights of episode 1, and I really would have liked to see more than what essentially played like a post-credits scene. Like, it felt like a season 2 tease, and I'm just not in the mood for another season of this. God, I could bully this show all day long. What did I like about it? Third Sister, as poorly used as she was, felt pretty cool, and I thought she had a cool arc, and her acting became more engaging and less over the top as the show went on. Like, her performance in the last episode was a masterclass, in my opinion. Like, the arc was predictable, but I thought her performance was good, and I really liked it. All of the Obi-Wan and Darth Vader lightsaber fights were dumb, but we all knew they were going to happen. But in the context of those, I will always be on board with further strengthening their dynamic and adding new layers to their relationship. When half of Vader's mask was blown off and you could really see Hayden acting behind it, like, it sent me. It was breathtaking. Even though that shit definitely already happened in Rebels, like, I ate it up. I loved it. I also think it's worth noting that while the show couldn't hold back and Obi-Wan...
Hello there.
Hello there.
I was happy that they resisted the urge to have Vader say, "It's over, Obi-Wan. I have the high ground," because they definitely could have, and I would have hated it so much. I don't know, what else was cool? Tarla and the Neo Rebels were kind of cool. Like, I feel like Tarla just kind of existed as a plot convenience most of the time, but I was happy to see a brown female lead with at least a modicum of agency in the Star Wars canon. I thought all of the characters reprising their roles looked pretty good. Like, Bail Organa was really fun to watch every time he was on screen, though he felt a smidge too old. And Owen and Beru were awesome, despite feeling a smidge too young. Joel Edgerton absolutely ate that role for breakfast, and it was so fun actually getting to see him flex a little bit as Owen instead of whatever he was doing in episode 2. I honestly wish there had been more of him, because he was phenomenal and I couldn't take my eyes off him every time he was on screen. The Inquisitors were super cool, but ultimately underutilized. Like, Third Sister got tons of screen time and she was great, but I would have liked to see a little bit more from the others. Like, it feels like they carry a certain mythos in this post-Order 66 universe, but, like, I never understood why. Like, I wanted to see them live up to their reputation a little bit more and have that reputation make sense. Gosh, who else? There's probably people that I'm missing, but Kumail Nanjiani was there. I don't know, he looked like he was having fun, so I support it. Okay, so I've said a lot of things. I've whined a lot, but there was some stuff that I liked. So what's the point of it all? I just think Disney needs to stay away from this familiar territory. Like, there is so much Star Wars content within this, like, 80-year window, and we just need to break out of it. The canon storylines get more and more fragile with each new edition, and the retcons feel dumber and dumber every time. The more content there is in this, like, small window, the more the shows have to tiptoe to make sure the continuity lines up, you know? We need to expand the scope of Star Wars in film and TV. Like, The Old Republic seems awesome. Like, give me some content from way back in the day that has nothing to do with these characters we already know. When Disney can finally do that, I think we might have some good stuff on our hands. I also think these shows are still, like, too sterile and too safe. Like, yeah, this show had some gritty moments and pushed some boundaries in a couple places, but it feels like nothing compared to the boundaries that Star Wars The Clone Wars pushed. Like, I want the live-action series to take those risks and show me some stuff that is less family-friendly and less safe. Like, I mean, yeah, the references and scenes of Order 66 were brutal and all, but, like, I knew all that. We watched Anakin kill younglings 20 years ago, so there's nothing shocking or groundbreaking about it. I think it bears mentioning that The Mandalorian is the greatest offender in this department. Like, that show felt as safe as it possibly could have felt, and if it wasn't doing something safe, it was acting as a teaser for some other Star Wars show to come. I just hate seeing Disney waste all of this time, money, and creativity on concepts that don't feel new or exciting. The Star Wars universe has the potential to be as deep and wide as Disney wants it to be. They just need to step out of the kiddie pool. It doesn't matter what Disney releases. People are going to watch it. I would rather ridicule them for going too big and too crazy than ridicule them for being too safe. It's so much easier for me to support bold choices. Disney just has to make them. Give me characters I haven't seen, raise the stakes, and hire some no-name actors so, I don't know, maybe you can afford good visual effects? I don't know. Am I crazy? I feel kind of crazy. Let me know. Thanks for watching.